Hey there, Frederick. You're the first. Want me to trash the competitors some more? Oh, the caveman too. Not just the competitors, huh? You know, it's so funny because as I mentioned before on the channel that it's so taboo to talk shit about your competitors, but the consumer wants you to do that because how the hell else are they going to know what your competitors are doing that's fucked up? So if I won't do it, who's gonna? Nobody. That's the answer. You're supposed to be able to figure this out after you hire the company and learn that way, not hear it from anybody because that's shows you're weak or something like that. Every single company I invest in, if I can't talk shit about the competitors because we know we're better and lay it out, I don't want to be involved because this is what the consumer wants. Hey, Luca. Good. Google LSA working great for you. That's great, Frederick. I'm glad that you signed up for that. I mean, to be honest, like I've said before, LSA is, it's so easy. Everybody can do it. Yes, it's not scalable like Google Ads, but it's a hell of a lot easier and quicker to make money on that. So you always try to start there. And then when you can't scale that anymore, then bring in the Google Ads. Hey, Alex. Hi, Mustafa. Why is it bad to talk about competitors? I don't know. You tell me, Alex. Why is it every single person that I talk to say that you're not supposed to talk bad about your competitors? I still don't understand it. I mean, I do because they'll say like, oh, that just makes you look weak talking about your competitors like that. You're never supposed to do that. I don't understand, though, where their logic is. Yes, you shouldn't be saying like crappy lies, but if somebody's doing something messed up and you don't say it, then they're just going to continue ripping people off. That's better. I have messages recorded from customers where they say if competitors screwed them up after they preferred them over us and then came back. Yeah, I mean, in our space, it's like 80% of it is like that. 80% of the people doing the work, that's the way that it is. Honestly, I'm also sick about these nice people. It's freedom of speech. You should be able to. The consumer is encouraged to leave a review on you, but then your competitors, you're not supposed to do that, I guess. Okay, so we're gonna get into. It's been, we're at the top of the hour here. I'm going to start answering questions. If you had a question. Political question, Alex. What do you think about Charlie Kirk? I don't want to end up like Charlie Kirk, so I don't want to tell you what I really think, but maybe that'll answer indirectly your question. Luca, well, if you talk about competitors, depends on what kind of people they are in the country, you will not only get business problems for that. And that, I guess, I think that's the crux of the situation. If you are going to talk crap about your competitors, you're going to get flack from them because they're, if they're ripping their customers off, they're going to have no problem screwing with you. So it's always risky. I'll say that, ultimately. The way that I like to do it is talk shit about your competitors, but without naming names, because then you really might have a problem. But if you just say in general what's going on, then you're pretty much safe in my book. Mustafa, if I have CallRail connected to Google Ads, when I thumbs up or thumbs down and put value on that lead in CallRail, will it be saved to guide your campaign even if you're doing manual CPC? If you have the Google Ads integration on CallRail, it will. Because the Google Ads integration is going to automatically create a goal inside your goals menu in your Google Ads account. But you also have to set up the thresholds, so where it will only fire if you do a thumbs up. There's several ways you can do it. You can do it if there's a thumbs up. You can do it with keypad scoring, where if it's scored well, it'll send a conversion only then. You can do it with conversion intelligence, where if there's certain keywords said during the call, it'll fire. You can do it that way. And of course, if you put the value in the value box, it'll send the conversion value, whatever is in that value box as well. So you may want to look into configuring when the conversion actually fires, if you want to. I've done that kind of thing before. I mean, where will the value go since it's not maximized conversions? Oh, and I forgot to mention about manual CPC. So even with manual CPC, Google is clearly going to use that data. Why would they not, ultimately, in terms of their machine learning? Yes, it's not going to use it maybe to the same level smart bidding is going to use it, but it's definitely going to use it somewhat, if you will. And if you're not using maximized conversion value bidding strategy, if you're wondering how they use it, well, they're just going to use it without telling you they're using it, because Google, it just doesn't make any sense why they would outright ignore it, even with manual CPC. And that's basically what we see. It's just like with secondary goals. Secondary goals, they say that they don't use it for any kind of optimization. That's BS. They are using it, and therefore it pays to send extra data to Google. Alex, but the problem is your customers don't know shit about marketing, and they don't understand the difference between you and your competitors. That's the life that we're in. I mean, if you're going to start a marketing agency or PPC agency, whatever, your number one job is just managing that client's expectations, because the average person thinks marketing is like magic and we can just, crush it immediately. And that's why I do projections for the client before I ever agree to work with them, because if they think that it's going to do all this and that and it's not, then we're just wasting our time. Most agencies get into the relationship and they'll be like, oh, it's going to be great. And then you get into it and they're like, well, I thought it would do this. And that wasn't even possible. And, and then it just, the relationship fails from the start then. Luca, Corey, what do you think about ads in YouTube Shorts? I notice RPM there is super low compared to long form videos, so I guess CPM is too low too. It works if you make a specialized ad for shorts. None of this trying to have your ad, your long ad work in the short space. That is number one. Number two, it's cheap for a reason. It's not going to convert nearly as well. But if you have a hot product that's working in longs, I 100% recommend doing shorts. Do the shorts in a separate campaign though, because it's going to perform totally different itself. And you want different ad copy for just shorts. But if you can do that and you understand what type of short format works, it can be just as profitable from what we've seen. But, making a good short is hard because, yes, you have up to a minute or whatnot. But it's hard to pack in everything you need to sell them in that, that time frame. It takes more skill. Alex, by the way, do you have something like CallRail that works in Europe? So call tracking metrics will work in Europe. I don't prefer it, but you got to use what you got to use. They have like 90 countries that they service. So not to say that for sure they service your country, but they service a lot. So I would check into them. Call tracking metrics. Frederick, when will you show the PPC headquarters? Hey, good question. I never had that question before. I'll think about how and where I can do that and how I should do it, I should say. Good suggestion. Mustafa. So I set the threshold in Google Ads or CallRail? It's in CallRail itself. You can set in CallRail through that integration, only send the data when blah, 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 blah. You can have it. There's a whole bunch of different ways to program it itself. So Google Ads doesn't even get any data from CallRail unless it meets certain requirements, so to say. Drakon. Hey, Corey, how have you been this week? Well, it's Monday, so far so good. We'll see what the rest of the week brings. Alex, I asked you about my competitors. They do only Meta. Google is hard. All of them can only do click buttoning. And when I get to a client, they tell all idiots they don't trust me. You can look at it as they got screwed over, therefore they're not going to trust me. The way I look at it is they now know what is bad. At our firm, if somebody doesn't tell me when they reach out and they say they want to work with us, if they haven't hired like 3 or 4 other companies before and failed, I already know the relationship's not going to work because they think it's going to be easy. Everybody thinks it's going to be easy at first. And then they don't realize they need a true expert until they've screwed up multiple times and proven themselves that. So if you look at it from that perspective, and then you actually tell that to people, hey, my average clients failed 4 times before they got to me. And then it worked. And I can tell you that because 3 other clients before me did the same thing. And now it works with them. And if you question, it's going to work with me, talk to them and they'll tell you the same story. They should be able to get it. So you can make it work to your advantage. Ultimately, I don't want to work with the client who has never done Google Ads before or even has worked with an agency before, usually, because their expectations are unrealistic. Mustafa, what if there is no call tracking metrics in CallRail, only GA4 for a country? Yeah, you could track phone number clicks as a backup. It sucks as an alternative, but what can you do? I want to say there's a way to do with Twilio a custom call tracking solution in a country that call tracking metrics doesn't service, but I have never done that before. And you can pretty much do whatever you want with Twilio, but the question is, how much is that going to cost? Do you want to spend thousands and thousands setting that up? I don't know. Seems pretty simple script to set up if you knew what you were doing. Checkix. Corey, if your customer competitor contacts you and wants you to hire you, what would you ethically do it? Customer competitor. So are you talking about like our agency? So like their competitor contacts me and wants to hire me. And the answer to that question is It depends on how much I like the client. Like if I like the client, I respect the client, I'm going to turn them down, because the hardest thing to do in this business is find a good client with a good head on their shoulders. But if they were somebody on the way out, then I would do it. But for that matter, it doesn't make sense to compete against yourself. There's only one best way to do it, and you just go with the person that you want to work with. Now, I know that may sound like kind of shitty that I'm saying that I should fire the other client first, but the reality is I'm just being honest with you here. If a client's being an asshole and this other person that's cool comes to me, I mean, it's a free market. I can decide to work with who I want. Drakon, I have a question regarding CallRail. The system can only track a user if he clicks on the call link and not if he goes on the website, sees the phone number, and then types on his phone manually. So CallRail can track both. If you don't know how to do it, just get in contact with their support and they'll walk you through it. You should be able to track phone number clicks on and calls on the ad itself while they're on Google Ads, as well as call from your website itself. Both. This is what we do on every client account that we have. Monty, how long does it take Google to learn new keywords? Like when making a new ad group, they have 1,400 plus monthly searches. So if it's a keyword that nobody bids on, certainly longer. But even if it is a keyword they understand well, it's highly competitive. The main thing is it's not so much that they're learning, how to run it for you. Is they're trying to see how you perform on that keyword. Because if other people are advertising on that keyword and they know how their ads and their landing pages perform, they're going to only test you out slowly to see if you're better than them and not push the other guys out of the way until they're firmly confident that you're better than them. And that can take months on a keyword easily. So, and the less competition you have, the less time it takes, because Google can be less picky. More competition you have, the longer it takes, of which if you have 20 competitors trying to slug it out for that same keyword, it can easily take sometimes 12 plus months to really get to where your cost per click is at rock bottom cost. I've seen that quite a few times, to where you're paying the low end of the range on the Google Keyword Planner. Monty, how long does Google take to learn? Oh, sorry, I just answered that, I guess. Seeking binaries. Trying to convince a client that smart bidding is the way forward. He insists we manually adjust the bids at the keyword level. So when I started out this agency, I was doing what most people do, which is if the client says they want to do something, you just agree with them because you're afraid to get fired if you don't listen to what they say. But you know what the reality is? If you do what they say and it doesn't work, guess what? They're not going to take blame and say, hey, I was a stupid idiot for suggesting this. They're just still going to blame you anyway. So what is the point of agreeing with them? Now, sometimes we still have to agree with them anyway. But that's the reality. Your job isn't there to be a yes man. Your job is there to tell them what works. And because if you don't get results, they're going to fire you and they're going to blame you anyway. So but to answer your question more directly, what you got to do is you got to set up a secondary campaign with smart bidding. And you got to say, hey, whatever you say that you want to do, great. We'll test it. We'll test it compared to what I know works, because I'm not here to make you fail. And if you want me to just do what you want, then what the hell are you doing hiring me in the first place? Like, if you think you know it better than me, why am I here? And so then you could just physically show them, okay, this is why it doesn't work. I do that all the time. And that's not being an asshole. I mean, it's just like if you go to the doctor's office. What if you went to the doctor and you had a broken leg? You're like, no, I think you should fix my leg this way. Is the doctor an asshole for telling you no? No. I mean, that's what they're ethically supposed to do. Alex, how do you do feed optimization with e-commerce? Apps like Data Feed Watch. What am I supposed to do 12 hours per day there? For the most part, I mean, I just keep it simple myself. If there's errors, I fix them. And then once I've gotten that done, I'm going to try to seed keyword data into the product feed to kind of help it along if products aren't getting shown. I'll add competitor keywords in there, like competitor names, in other words. Also synonyms that, like if the product's gray, we'll put silver in there to try to get more impressions for a product that's stalled in terms of scaling and in terms of impressions. And we'll test images. We'll test pricing, that kind of thing. For the most part, that's it. I mean, it's not, you don't have to overcomplicate it, in my opinion. Alex, why you ignore this question? I just answered your question, so I don't know if I ignored it still. Mustafa, do we have to make the goals that are automatically generated by CallRail as primary all the time, even if we have other important goals like converted lead and purchase? Bottom line, you just don't want duplicate goals. So if CallRail creates a goal that you've already are tracking, you don't want to make it primary. Is probably the simplest way I could answer that question. So for me, I've kind of went back and forth over this over the years, but I like to use Google Ads integration for CallRail as my primary goal. And then I use GA4 to track the same thing as my secondary because it tracks a little bit more and a little bit better. That's where I'm at right now. Mustafa, how to manually upload profile ID, username, email, or phone number to Google Ads goal? Is there a template that Google gives? Does it have to be enhanced conversion tracking? Profile ID itself, I don't know anything about that. But you absolutely do have to have enhanced conversion tracking turned on to do the username, specifically email or phone number itself, uploading it. You gotta have it hashed and then you send it to them. That's right. Alex, how much search volume is enough to do something with Google Ads, and when is it not enough? So, I mean, it's all relative, right? You could make something work with 10 searches a month. You just ain't going to be making anything because there's no volume there. And the general thing is, it's like a woman. Don't get a woman that's too expensive for your income. Don't go after a niche that is too competitive for the money you've got to spend to get it profitable initially up front. Start with a niche that there's basically no competitors. Make it work. Go into a bigger niche, make that work, and then just work your way up versus trying to go and compete with the big boys. People a lot of times make that mistake, and then they just run out of money before it's ever profitable. So the bigger the search volume, the better the money, but the more it's going to take likely in terms of your website design, aesthetics, skill to make it profitable up front. Monty, no, I mean like how much longer until the keyword gets impressions and ramps up when making new ad groups, not just getting rock bottom CPCs. In some competitive markets now, it's taking months to get decent impressions on a keyword. Literally. And we have to jack the CPCs way up to $100, $200 a click just to get the thing going. It's crazy now. So it all depends on the competition. If it's super competitive with 20 guys trying to slug it out, it can take easily 3 months for it to get decent impressions. Whereas if you have no competition, it's like a day. So that's really the main factor there. Draken, I noticed that the whiteboard from the videos is behind you. Yep. This is the same one. So fancy, huh? Mustafa, man, appreciate it. Thank you. No problem, bro. Mustafa, my hair transplant clinic leads are super dry these past 2 to 3 months. What's working for you these days. So I've worked with the hair transplant doc before. It's actually not too hard of a niche to do. Like anything in the medical services space isn't too hard because usually the doctors are pretty cheap and they don't invest much in their marketing as a whole. But what I would suggest to you as a whole is to find an introductory service that's not a full-on hair transplant and try to market that. So if that same clinic has LED hair treatment or PRP or something like that, I know you can't promote PRP with Google per se, but find something that has a lower barrier to entry and then offer the introductory treatment for like $10 and convince the doctor that's the way. Because once they come in, you talk to them and then they realize that treatment's not really going to give them the end result that they want, you can upsell them. At least do that once you've picked all the low-hanging fruit in your market. That is people already ready to buy a full-on hair transplant. You ignored question above 3 times. I'm literally reading off every single question in chronological order, so I'm not sure, Alex, which question I'm ignoring here. Mr. Wooden, I'm doing affiliate for e-commerce products. I'm wondering how useful it is to do pinned headlines if my account is manual for now for clicks. I got limited for clickbait and health claim. Pinned headlines, sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. The main reason why you want to use pinned headlines is when you're confident a certain headline is going to work. You're in the first position, you would pin it. Whereas the second you're not confident with that, what would work there, you don't pin it. That type of thing. Let Google rotate through the different options there. I could go on to more into detail about it, but for the most part, there's no absolute best answer, pinning, not pinning. Alex, where can I learn everything about quality score? Because there's a lot about stuff like landing page experience. Sometimes everything is set up allegedly right, but there is so much you don't know why quality score is low. Quality score over the years, just to put it into perspective, has gotten a lot harder to get a 10. Back when I first started, it was easy. And then they've gotten harder and harder over the years to get there. What I have learned is it takes a lot of clicks to get a high quality score. So if you haven't gotten 10,000 clicks on a keyword, you're not getting a 10 quality score because it just takes that long for the algorithm to recognize everything you did. You can get a 7 pretty quickly, but not a 10 until it's really proven itself. But in terms of learning everything you can about quality score, just go back to the fundamentals more than anything. How can you get the click-through rate higher? How can you get the conversion rate higher? And they're going to benchmark you against your competitors. The more of a gap you are between you and your competitor and the more clicks that keyword has gotten for Google to fully recognize it, the higher the quality score is going to be. You can actually, of course, kind of jump the gun with it a little bit and make sure you put, keywords in the landing page and a bunch of spots and all that, which you already likely know about here. But as far as the ad goes, it's the same thing. You put the keyword in the ad a bunch, it will help get you a higher quality score initially. But a lot of it just comes down to you have to advertise for a while, and you're not going to get a high quality score until you've proved to the system you can crush the competition on those two fronts. Monty, what to do when you messed up the campaign and client got 5 leads and campaign went back into learning mode? He did ask for a refund, but I have $1,200 free coming from Google. I'm not quite sure exactly what the question is here. I guess if the client quit and you still have the refund coming and it's your account, I guess, you could send them a check or spend the money. I don't know what to tell you. Jay from Cali. After 100 sales uploads to my lead gen campaign, that is TCPA, do I pause it and start fresh with conversion value bidding strategy on a new campaign or stick it on the same campaign? Definitely the same campaign. And, just switch to conversion value bidding strategy. Now, that said, you're going to see some volatility switching over. So you may want to do one campaign at a time to kind of ease the transition. But no, it could easily take 30 to 60 days to see it all the way through, get past learning mode, and then have your sales start going up. So as the worst case scenario. Mustafa, if I turn on enhanced conversion tracking, will I still be able to manually upload GCLIDs? Yes, you will. You can upload both. Alex, no, I meant was search volume is so low, so there's no point in setting up Google Ads because there's so few people searching. Yeah, I mean, but my answer is basically the same to you. That is, so there's a lot of markets where you can just win really easily, but you're only going to make 40 grand a year in terms of a salary doing that business. So is it worth doing it? No, it isn't. But if you do make 40 grand, then you could get into a business using that money where you can make 400 grand a year. Don't start a business that you don't have enough money to get it going is basically the golden rule, so to say. So, I mean, you can just use one to jump into another and to jump into another. And that's the easiest way to scale to a big niche where you're making millions, in my opinion. So, you can get sales on 10 searches a month or 1,000. It's irrelevant. It's just, do you want to run a company where you can make less money than you can make at a job? That's the question you got to ask yourself. How to set up tracking in e-commerce? Just like download the Google and YouTube Shopify an app and it's done. How about other platforms? I need to do it with GA4. So yes, the Google and YouTube app is the easiest way. However, I would recommend nowadays using the Analyzify app to track all the ad platforms that you're interested in. That's going to get you the best tracking data of all, and it's going to be the most reliable, specifically for Shopify itself. Yes, it's not free, but if you want to do it right, that's the best way now. Otherwise, if you're doing it like for Facebook and so forth, then you're going to also want to install the appropriate Facebook app and so forth there. Drakan, just thought of an idea. Users search for a discount code for our competitors' e-commerce. Should we run ads on that keyword and advertise our own coupon, or is that a dumb idea? No, that's a really good idea. In fact, a lot of these discount, these coupon code sites, they will advertise similar to like what you're doing and then sell the traffic back to you. So it's absolutely a good idea. You're getting bottom of the funnel traffic. Okay, so I answered your e-commerce question. If you want somebody to set it up correctly, by the way, after you have gotten the information, Alex, just reach out to my firm. We'll get you hooked up. Mr. Wooden, Alex, be nice. I don't think he's being that mean. I just think there's a miscommunication. Luca, if you want high landing page experience, you can do hard-coded schema markup, and that will help. Yeah, that's certainly the case. You can certainly, through a technical basis, get your quality score on your ads higher. And one way that we found to make sure that you've done it right, by the way, is if you put your URL of your landing page into Google Keyword Planner, and if the first keyword that they mention is the keyword you're intending to optimize that page for, then you pretty much went far enough with it, if that makes sense. Mr. Wooden, how aggressive can your copy be? Broad question, I know. Do you have a video on it? I keep getting clickbait claims. So the key thing with clickbait is what it is it's not about aggressive. It's about, is the landing page marketing something that is not on the ad? That's clickbait. So, for instance, we had a teeth whitening kit for a business, like a salon to do teeth whitening in their salon. It's like a business in a box type thing where you got the product and the training, and we put on the ad, teeth whitening business in a box. Well, the landing page didn't literally have a business in a box. It was, even though effectively that's what it was. So we got hit for clickbait. So you just have to be, what's on the ad, what has to be on the landing page. You could be as aggressive as you want once you've already figured that out. Mustafa, do you recommend turning on enhanced conversion tracking for service businesses? Yeah, I mean, definitely, but it's not going to give you for for shopping cart purchases, it's killer. It's going to get you another 10+% more conversion data. For the lead generation side of things, it's a lot of extra work for not that much extra conversions. You might have to do all that work uploading the email, phone number, and to get an extra 5% or less data. Given that only 10% of the clicks don't have the GCLID, and of those, half of them are only going to match up when you upload the email. So at best, you're getting an extra 5% more data, and you're probably only getting 2 or 3% more conversion data. Is that worth it to go through the trouble of doing it? Well, that's up to you. How to attract people that are about to travel to another country. For example, I want to make audience of people who are about to travel to Pakistan in the next 3 months or so. So that kind of thing is hard to do. For the most part, there's 3 main ways to do it. One of which is to put out a video that only would appeal to people that are doing that, and then remarket to them. So that if they watch the entire video from start to finish, they're interested in that, you can retarget them. The second way would be use a LiveRamp account, because they have audiences for everything. The problem with that, though, is you need to spend like 10 grand a month for it to be worth it in terms of the fees and whatnot. And then the third way to do it is to find a competitor who already has that audience built already and just target their followers, is the third way. So for the most part, the most reasonable way to do it is the first one, making a video, making sure that video only would appeal to people looking to move to Pakistan, and then remarket to them. Jay from Cali, how do I start optimizing for qualified leads? I know how to upload qualified form and call leads as offline conversions. Do I make them a secondary conversion first and then switch to primary? TCPA. So I would recommend making them secondary at first until you've built up a certain amount of them, because you need a certain amount of data for the algorithm to really use it. So I would be optimizing for form leads and phone calls first until I've gotten at least 100 of those qualified form leads, and ideally like 300, and then switch over and then make those primary and then make your other goals secondary at that time. That's what we usually do. Otherwise, when you switch over, you have a lot of volatility, and because it needs that extra data. Drakan, thank you for the answer. No problem, bro. Bakali, hey, Corey, have you tested the attribution software for e-commerce like Triple Whale or Northbeam? What is your preference when it comes to attribution for multiple channels? So I don't personally use those third-party analytic softwares. I just use GA4. So I can't give you a definitive answer on that. I know the Triple Whale is the one that seems like most people, it's like the go-to. I can't give you a more specific answer. Sorry. Alex, how do you set up tracking for e-commerce besides Shopify? So I already answered that. Alex, Porgorolo. My local campaign in Germany gets only about 60% of the conversions, and due to the consent, on top of that, about 20% of the conversions come from the wrong location. How much does this mess up the algo? So to be honest, I normally don't run too many European campaigns. So I don't have a lot of data on that, exactly how much that's going to affect you. What I will say, though, is this. All of your competitors are in the same boat as you. Okay. So therefore, it shouldn't mess with you that much because of that. It's all, relative. If they had the data and you didn't, then it would be a disadvantage, but they don't because of that. So all you can do is just get the most data in there that you can. And in general, look into the advanced tracking systems that get you a little bit more data. Offline conversion tracking, server-side tracking, all this stuff. At least do that for yourself to kind of bridge the gap as much as possible. What can I do to optimize? So, like I said, upgrade your tracking. That's literally the easiest way to optimize an ad campaign now, is just get the best possible tracking. add server-side tracking, add secondary goals, and offline conversion tracking, all this stuff. Beyond that, just, of course, I talk about different strategies on the channel. Watch some of the videos. Alex, what is better and when? Meta ads versus YouTube. So to be honest, if meta ads works, YouTube will typically work, and vice versa. That said, micro niches, it's YouTube all the way, because with YouTube, you can tap into Google's data. Like if you're selling Christmas decorations, you can tap into somebody already looking for Christmas decorations just with Google's audiences that they have, or somebody looking for toolboxes. And I'd go there first. Whereas if you're selling a mass market product, I would go meta ads first, because it seems to work better. But in the end, if one works, the other one will work. If it's a micro niche, I would start with YouTube. If it's a broader niche, I would start with meta ads, generally speaking. Mr. Wooden, how do you find who your competitors are? Transparency Center is not like Facebook's, and searching keywords in Google is too slow. So yeah, you're right. SpyFu, SEMrush, those softwares help a lot. I mean, that's the main thing. If you're talking about search ads, that's the way to go. If you're looking at shopping competitors, it's pretty easy just to do searching for your own stuff for the most part. Anthony Dipoli, Dipofy. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Do you have any advice for campaigns and ad structure for SaaS? In an old video, you said this was one of the only times to use broad match. Is this still true? So for SaaS, the general rule of thumb is keywords with the word tools at the end and keywords with the word software at the end are the bread and butter. Okay. And with that said, I would still start out with phrase match before I did broad match itself. And then when you can't scale that anymore, go ahead with your broad match. So I would find every keyword with tools and software in it. I would just target those at the beginning and try my best to find them all instead of just testing a few keywords and phrase match. Try to find them all by doing proper keyword research and then go that route with it. Hopefully that makes sense. Mr. Wooden, what mistakes do you see people make on their advertorials? Thanks. It's not many, because the people that know how to use advertorials are real hardcore marketers. So they're not like clueless people that are they have no clue what they're doing whatsoever. So with that said, I don't have a lot. I mean, they're so profitable. I mean, if you know how to make a good advertorial, you're just printing money. Everybody should be learning how to do that, but not many people talk about it. The only people that really do it is affiliate marketers, but the companies themselves, they're not doing it. Mustafa, have you ever found a niche that was so good that you set it up for yourself? How to find these type of gold mine niches? So to be honest, I think every PPC company or PPC consultant or whatever is going to go through this the same, to where when you start out in business, it's hard to get clients and you're thinking, why am I making them rich when I could just do this myself? The reality is running a bunch of companies is harder than it seems, because you got employees that are going to steal from you. They're going to embezzle from you and you're not paying attention. And it's much easier to run one company right than 5 companies half-assed. So I saw what somebody was doing, was like, damn, I should just do that for myself. And yes, tons of times. That said, I'm thinking long-term here as well. So and I had to learn the hard way, trying to start other companies and juggling them and whatnot. I didn't steal anybody's business, but it's it's just really hard to manage multiple things. So am I going to do what I'm doing now, or am I going to do that? Just doing both, what a lot of marketing agencies try to do, they're just going to half-ass it all, and it's not worth it. So go all the way with the agency and have an end goal in mind, or go out of it completely, is my opinion, my advice. And how to find these type of niches? Well, it's easy. You get a client and you see how much they're making, and then you do it in a different geographic market that they're in, that you're not competing with them. I had a client who was in wheelchair ramp installation that immediately made money. Like the typical, you hear me talking about how it takes months for campaigns to scale up. No, like this was working the first month profitably, and every single call was like qualified, even after not even using qualified lead data to optimize the campaigns. And I was like, oh, well, I could just set this up in a bunch of cities and have a bunch of money coming in and blah, 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 blah. But I just remind myself again, like, hey, you can't, you're going to take your eye off the ball on this one thing you're doing to get to do this other thing, and you're not gaining anything. Alex, what is the best way to choose in shopping campaign groups? Do people always use custom labels or categories with product categories? Or I personally always use custom labels, and I'm either going to group the campaigns by top sellers or by product category itself. So couches versus, beds and stuff like that if you had a furniture company. But for the most part, you absolutely want to break it out by category if you have a lot of different types of items. And also, if you're struggling, you should just single out the top 20% of sellers on your website or through your Amazon store, because that'll typically get your results faster. No problem, Anthony. Alex, thank you. I've tried working with offline conversions, uploading qualified leads, more than 30 a month, but my impressions and clicks drop massively. I feel I missed out on good clients. What to do? When you switch over to optimize for qualified leads, it's going to get screwy for a while. That's why I typically now wait till I got 300 of those conversions before I switch over, because of that. And there's no way to switch over without it being volatile. It's almost like, you're going to the gym. You have to break down your muscle before you can build it up stronger again. The algorithm is not going to like that you made a change, but you eventually if you are stuck where you're at, you cannot scale anymore. You don't have a choice not to do it. So I tell a lot of people, just don't do it. Don't switch until you're stuck. And then when you are stuck, you at least know it's worth it to do this, because I cannot scale without doing it. So if you're scaling without it, just keep going. Just build the data up in the background. One day it'll be there for you when you can't scale anymore. Mr. Wooden, how should an affiliate in e-commerce manage their time? Copy, research, media buying, AI prompts. So I'm not an affiliate myself, so I wouldn't probably be the best one to answer that. But for the most part, if I was doing affiliate marketing, I'm spending most of my time copying campaigns. I'm going to copy the ads. I'm going to copy the landing pages. And I'm going to use custom spy tools even to find and get tabs on all the campaigns that are running, and find the ones that are running the longest and the most, and then just ripping them off, and then running them for a while, see if they work. If they don't work, shut them down right away. And that's literally how I would operate. Because once you have all that data, you could pay somebody to set everything up, copy it. Luca, what's your goal, Corey, if you feel comfortable sharing it? Do you want to sell agency? Okay, to be fair, yes. That's what I was speaking of earlier, was because I do want to sell the agency one day. Now, am I going to sell it anytime soon? No. 10 years from now, yes. And I know that is absolutely the goal. So do I want to start up a wheelchair ramp installation company and make money on the side? No, because I know it's going to distract me from that end goal. And so therefore, I don't want to get distracted, and therefore I don't want to do it. I've been in business now this is our 12th year. I've been doing it 11 years. In my mind, I had about 9 years left in it before I'm out. And, to be fair, most of the people that run agencies, you don't see old grandpas running agencies. It's a young man's sport. I'm 41 now. When I'm 50, I know I'm not going to be as sharp as I am now. So I know it's like being an athlete. Are you going to wait till you're 45 to retire? No, because that would be, you want to stop, when you're still good. So that is absolutely the goal itself. And so you guys are going to have me for quite a while yet. Okay, so I'm pretty much getting to, I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quick here. I'll answer a couple more questions, guys, and then we'll have to wrap it up. Kahua, Corey, when rubbing max, I guess using max conversion for emergency services, even on $34 to $40 a day budget and reporting offline conversions, many times clicks are $80 and no conversions. Why does it happen? The longer you run your ads, the more consistent it gets. That's just the general thing that what happens with, you're talking about Google ads. So that's the reward on the other side of advertising a long time, which is why it's important to track every conversion and don't waste any of your data. And eventually that data gets you supreme consistency. Why does it happen? Well, it's pretty clear and simple why it happens. Google gets to decide which advertiser gets the quality user. And when you are not on the top of the list of who they want to give it to, they're going to give it to somebody else, and you're going to get the trash traffic. And once you get the trash, it's not going to convert. People underestimate how smart Google is about the people coming through and their likeliness to convert. They, of course, want to give the good traffic to the guy that's been there for 5 years consistently, always pays, card never fails, customers always leave good reviews. And here you come along and you're supposed to get all his good traffic right away. It's obvious why and what they're doing. And so they'll take your money. They just aren't going to give you what you want. And if you stick around long enough to show them, hey, I'm the new big swinging dick in town here, then they'll start and come around to your side. And then it'll get consistent after that because they'll start sending the quality traffic to you. Okay, Mr. Wooden, how do you prevent yourself from bans if your most provocative asset is your aggressive copy? At least when you're talking about Google, they'll let you basically get away with murder. I mean, if you're an affiliate and you're doing some really sketchy shit like, see how you could get health insurance for $9 a month. And then, really you're just using that to generate leads. Yeah, you're going to get shut down. But if you're just going super aggressive on something like a normal offer and you're not like really lying to people like that, you can be as aggressive as you want. You can be like 200% money back guarantee. If we don't give you the lowest price, we'll give you a $500 gift card for wasting your time. You can do any of that stuff. On Facebook, it's touchy, obviously. For the most part, with the clients that we serve, which are normal companies, the only thing that basically we can't do is show before and after photos in like healthcare niches and stuff like that. For whatever reason, they don't like that, just as if Facebook doesn't. So if you're not lying to people and ripping them off, there's really no reason or why you can't say what you want to say for the most part. Alex, love you, Corey. I'm happy I found you. Yep. I mean, I get a lot of pleasure out of doing this. If you're wondering how I'm able to do all this that I'm doing, I live for this stuff, honestly. So I'm glad you appreciate what I'm doing. Okay, I'll make this the last question, guys. Sorry if I couldn't get to all of you guys. Mr. Wooden, headlines in Google Ads are too boring to match my advertorials since they rotate. How do you choose ad headlines that make sense for a good headline on your landing page? So for advertorials, when I'm advertising those on Google Ads, I generally will say something like, for instance, if I'm pitching a new back treatment, I'm going to say new back treatment requires no surgery, brand new technique, something like that. That's my ad copy. So the ad copy is just selling the user on some miracle solution, something like that. And then the article really explains what it is. You're not selling what the solution is. You're selling them reading the article, so to say. So that's the main thing I would tell you there. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that, guys. I have some other commitments I have here coming up in about 10 minutes that I have to do as well. But you guys had some really good questions here as usual. I always feel like you guys, the community that I've curated here, is one in which we got quality educated people, because the questions you guys are giving me, I know by giving the answers, it's helping a lot of other people. It's not like real, obvious questions, so to say, that everybody's benefiting by me answering it. In other words, I'm not having to skip questions. I'm able to answer them all one by one. That said, of course, as this gets more popular, I'm not able to answer all the questions. It's getting to be, I'm answering less each time in terms of the total questions asked. But, that's why if you want to get your questions answered, then my suggestion is I'm doing the Q&A at the same time every week. If you get here early, you're going to get your questions answered. Come later, maybe I won't get to them, but, of course, I'll try my best to. That said, I really appreciate you, of course, watching the videos, helping my channel grow. And I really do mean that. I mean, without you guys, I'm not having any of it, and I'm not having any success with it. I started this 5 years ago, and you guys recognize that what information I'm providing here, even though it's not the sweetened, packaged version that everybody kind of wants to hear, you want the real information, and that's what I want to provide. And you've helped me build the channel around that, so I can find other people like you who do want it as well. Because most of the other channels on YouTube, they're making it sound easy, and that's what most people want. And you guys are realistic about how things are, and as a result of that, you're going to be the ones making money at the end of the day. So, anyway, appreciate everything that you guys are doing for me, doing for the channel. And I'll see you next week if you have questions that you still want to ask. Appreciate you. See you later, guys.